Sure, totally. But
I usually don't know what I'm playing until I'm like halfway in anyway, either.
I usually just use the donut. I've never actually signed up for anything ahead
Really?
of time.
That's so funny. Last year, I think I had signed up for everything that I played, and I had like 2 slots free.
Yeah.
That I kind of was like, I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap somewhere, and that was my what I
Nice.
did.
Oh, hi, Internet. Welcome
hi.
to Actual Play, Scum and Villainy, Stardancer. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
Hello, chat. Hello, YouTube.
We were just talking about how rad it's going to be that all of us are going to be at Go Play Northwest.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. You should join us.
And yeah, I think you still can. If you, I'm guessing so. I don't think they close. If you are in the Seattle area or can get there, it's July 7th to 9th. And I'm going to put it in the thing, in the channel. Yeah.
The channel of the talking. Yeah.
Stardancer live show. Yes, Figure 4. We are live.
I think
I
Figure
think
4
FF
means
meant-
at Go Play.
Oh,
bringing camera, stream live.
No.
That sounds difficult. It sounds like
No.
we'd have to like bring in a special. I can see all of you right now. It'd be really hard to swivel my head a lot.
Well, I mean, what if
The limitation.
if it was like a side quest that didn't affect the main thing, so it was just for people who were there, that kind of thing.
No, what we need to do is all go to the con and then sit in 4 separate rooms, all with our laptops.
That would work. There it is.
Oh, amazing.
That would be counted to our.
Amazing.
Actually, we've been watching Ultimate Beastmaster because how could you not watch something called Ultimate Beastmaster? And all of
It's nothing to do
Is this
with
naughty?
the 80s movie with the tiger and the ferrets. And
well, only in the smallest amount in that there's like a dragon that it's an obstacle course, American Ninja kind of thing, and there's a dragon that they go through. But no, it's not related to Beastmaster at all.
Right.
But there are these like announcers for each country because people compete from around the world.
So it's Animal Olympic? Keep going. Don't let me know.
No, it's people and they go through an obstacle course that is supposed to look like a dragon. There's no animals at all.
There's no animals at all?
You've lost 2 of us.
Sorry.
Sean.
It's pretty amazing. Okay, just stick with me for 2 seconds.
All right.
Each of the announcers for each country are in their own booths, but then and you only see a filmed version of like one booth at a time. But then every once in a while they cut to one booth and it's empty, and they cut to another and like people have run into them. And so like clearly they're all in their own like spaces, but they're really easy to get back and forth. So that's what we would need is like to sit in front of the camera and like play like we are now, but be in adjacent rooms so we can run over to each other's. And suddenly you'd see, both Sean and Andy like hovering over Jory's screen. That's it. That's all.
This is a good plan.
Perfect.
I like this. We could do the side quest of like Burden and Burden's little friends, like Appa's Lost Days.
Oh, I wonder if there's like a different game that we could hack. Yeah, we could hack our characters into and just play a session of a different game with our characters. That would be adorable.
Maybe not Golden Sky Stories. If we were all playing little animal people, then Golden Sky Stories would be perfect.
Burden and his friends.
Yeah, it would just be called Burden and Friends. That's the name.
Space Poodle.
There's some limit when Burden has to survive in the jungles of Akedi.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay, so this all being said.
Oh, but we're playing this game.
This one right here.
Starting right now.
6 of Scum and Villainy Stardancer on actual play here.
I'm into it.
All right, I'm gonna kick us off. I'm just gonna burn through what happened last time from my notes. All right, cool. So we opened on the Stardancer flying down some dark hyperspace lanes, and we found out that it's a bumpy and not necessarily super smooth ride.
It's a deer track.
I guess is the same thing, but whatever. The crew basically got together and argued about why Faye went onto the Monthly ship and which jobs they're going to do. And they actually demonstrated her competence by talking about shortest route paths, delivery jobs that are going to make coin, and how to continue on into the Breck system, which is where the potential next job is going to be, along with a pit stop on Amarath, and demonstrated some of her competence by using some clever flashbacks. But in the storyline, we saw that she had acquired heat shielding and all sorts of other things that were necessary for the passage through the flames between the twin sons of Iota, the Ring of Fire. And as you folks were traveling, a couple of things happened. Faye was studying the box, found out that the box updates in real time, found out that there was something in the center between the two sons of Iota and the Ring of Fire. It was like a little marker. We also had Loren talking politics with Bar Hazuk. Found out that Loren's political nemesis, a noble of House Varan, was in the system and was on the ship that was carrying the mass amount of Urbots that could potentially be very dangerous, which is what the Prime was very concerned about. Boz has shown some first steps in the path of becoming a mystic. Started attuning to Burden and Bar Hazuk and learning about just the way and sort of attunement in general. We had some arguments about cabins, and Loren took the captain's cabin.
Of course, he
And
did.
then,
Rightfully so.
Boz was offended by the presumption.
I believe that
But no one is surprised by the presumption.
No.
No one is surprised.
Please continue.
So yes, but I believe the final agreement was that Loren owes Faye a favor because Faye gave
A big one.
All right, so we popped out near the Ring of Fire. There was a pirate ship following our ship, a specific band of pirates called Drexler's Raiders, with a very distinctive fangy skull and crossbones for looking motif. You tried communicating with them, but your comms are terrible, and it was hard in the interference sort of the solar fire. A giant solar flare ejected. You folks dove through it. Your ship started melting. There was a lot of resistance rolls. Your engines went offline. Boz and Loren went to go fix the engines. Boz told some charming family stories about a cousin that was able to crawl through the ducts and was much better at repairs. Loren got burnt on the face.
Beautiful face.
Yes. So you folks received a mayday partway through the solar flares. You decided to fly towards it. Heard the roar of what people might colloquially name the old dragon. You flew through the center of the whole shenanigans directly between the stars, and there was an ancient ship that caught you in a gravity net, and you found another ship that was
not a good
projecting
prize.
the-
It was not a good prize, not a good surprise. Shocking.
You managed to dock with the ship despite the gravity net, and you met a bunch of Sun Eaters, including Chief Scientist Rikara, and you got to learn a little bit about them, including the fact that they're giant nerds and prioritize science over survival.
And have fancy duds.
Indeed, yes, and a fancy ship with cool green lighting. It's a purple.
Don't like them.
Well, they had a fancy ship. Now they have a carcass.
Yeah, they have bits of ship.
They have bits of ship that they packed as much as they could onto our ship.
It's true.
Because we have cargo bays.
And the ship was being dismantled by drones that were attacking things and trying to shred them and pull them apart. You folks actually fought your way through the drones with the help of some of the Sun Eater commandos in Bar Hazuk. You got to see some cool graffiti mysticism from the Sun Eaters. And when you got aboard the ancient ship, Bar Hazuk opened his, so to speak, veins and interfaced with the ship. And the last thing that happened is his body jerked and like one of his eyes glowed a little too brightly, and a voice that was not his came out of his mouth, and it yelled, "Organics, get me out of here!" And that's kind of where we left off. So that's roughly where we're picking up. And what are you folks doing after that revelation right there?
I think Faye is just staring in awe. She would eventually say something, but I don't know if she's gonna be the quickest to to respond to this.
I think Lauren would definitely just say like, "How?"
Total right.
Okay, let's.
Cool. So just as a reminder, one of the things that happened is during the big altercation where you folks were like shooting grenades and like fighting with the different drones that were attacking you, there was a crit rolled. And as one of the additional crit effects, you guys actually were able to push back any sort of assault. But
we're covering.
Since some time has passed, one of the things that happens is you see, like, if you recall, like Bar Hazuk was like limp and his body was deactivated before this happened. And then you see some drones like beginning to skitter in from the edges of the hallways, and you see like Barhazuk's body like twitches and like looks at them and barks like a stop, stop, stop. And you see them all like freeze, like almost like their bodies are held, but occasionally you see something like one of their drills continues moving or something like that. And Barhazuk's like body like clamps onto the wall and starts like pulling itself up. Like obviously one arm is still connected with these like fiber optic looking cables that are running into the wall. And that glowing orb focuses on all of you and says, which one of you here is a mechanic? As if that's an assumed thing that you should have amongst you.
I mean, it's
Lauren
unreasonable.
Looks at Boz like you're the closest we got.
I think Faye recovers a little bit, and she's like, "Whoa! First off, who are you, and where's Barhazuk? Because this is clear that like this other entity is talking through Barhazuk." And she kind of gets in its face a little bit, like, hey, mister, don't start ordering us around. She
Lauren grabs Faye by the shoulder and holds her back a little bit. I think you get closer, but
yeah,
Lauren's hand is on you.
A reminder.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this thing is going to answer, and I'm gonna give a little description so that you can keep this in mind. And I'll try and add a little bit of flavor, but I'm not going to go overboard. But the thing like snaps its eye towards you, and like I'm doing, I don't know if you can see, but like it overcorrects almost like its control of the body is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And comes out of
this is Barhazuk's body, right?
Barhazuk's body,
frame.
not his voice, not his intonations,
not his physical expression.
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, like the body snaps on you almost like it's moving too big. Right, like it's not used to the small frame or something. Even though Barhazuk is huge for a Nurbot, and it oftentimes when it speaks, it pushes out things like gibberish first. So it'll say things like 6 go 6 into 36. Carry the one. Always have to remember carry the one. Stop asking questions. There's no time. So like it'll like say all sorts of like random chatter before saying a sentence, and sometimes it's a little hard to figure out which sentence is the one that's addressed to you, almost like it's not used to speaking clearly or speaking only when it's supposed to communicate, and you're overhearing some of its thought patterns and things like that.
Sure.
Awesome.
Or I don't know, speaking with like people and not other bots. But yeah, sure. I'll take that. Sounds good.
I think Lauren at that point says, "We don't have a dedicated mechanic. Tell us what we need to do. We'll get you out."
Wait, why are we getting? Hold on. Whoa! Faye turns on Lauren. We don't know who this Urbot is. We don't know what it wants. As far as I know, it sucked us into this well and tried to rip our ship apart.
Faye, it stopped the drones. Barhazuk let it in. I trust him. We don't have time.
Stopped the drones, and it just stopped them because now it's in Barhazuk's body and it doesn't want them to take Barhazuk apart. We got to know what we're doing here, no?
Does it interrupt this?
Boz will get like stop, like Boz, having been covering our exit, will get up and like kind of shuffle over to the thing as the person who's like most inclined to like just start figuring out what it wants on a like substantive level while they're arguing, right? And like look at the connection, just kind of wait and stay out of like arm's reach.
Cool. So it seems to it's very good at, so it's listening to what's coming towards it, and it seems to, you're not sure if it's ignoring or if it's like having very selective hearing, but somebody said what, where, why, how do we do that, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it sits there and it murmurs some of its like susurrations, like 1101, 1101, why are the bits always broken? And then like it turns around and like starts to walk, and its arm like jerks because like the connections are still there, and then it looks at it in kind of like disgust and frustration. Of what it says is, my core, you have to remove my core. I cannot be stuck here any longer. And then continues with its like random noises and susurrations.
Faye is looking at Lauren, like, there is discussions to be had here, but understands that arguing in front of this unknown thing is maybe not the smartest thing.
Okay,
So
and I think
looks at him like, what do you want to do?
Lauren looks back at Faye and has a softening, and it's like, Faye has a point. And so he goes to what is currently in Barhazuk's body and says, the only question I have is, will Barhazuk come back to us? Yes or no?
It's the first time that all of the like additional noise that's coming out of Oh, by the way, like Barhazuk, when he speaks, moves his jaw a lot like a human, so that you can see like almost like words being formed. When this thing speaks, there's no jaw motion. It's just like a voice box projecting noise, right? But for a split second, all of those like external voices and things and calculations that is running in the background just all cease, and then it looks at you. Like almost like it's seeing you or studying you for the first time, and it says, yes, if you want your friend back, that is the only way.
And I have a special ability, which I always know if someone is lying to me.
It's totally lying.
It's totally lying.
Yes.
Oh, fuck. Shit.
Although I will tell you a thing. It's not lying about the fact that Barhazuk will return. It is lying about the fact that that is the only way. It's obviously trying to manipulate you.
Right. I can't say this to Faye in front of it, but I do give her a look that maybe she understands is like, no, I'm with you. I don't totally trust this thing, but we have to get it out of here.
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't understand that, but
I would like, I think based off of this, Faye doesn't know a lot about Urbots, so I imagine this is going to have pretty limited effect, but she is keen. I just put that extra dot in study, and I don't know that it's lying, but I do know that it's not Barhazuk, and that and it hasn't told us its name, and it hasn't told us what it wants other than its core. Presumably wants to escape this place. Can I tell from its desperation what kind of leverage we have over this thing if I study it? Like, yes. If we give it its core, can I then be like,
I'll tell you what, if you get a 1 to 20, you get nothing because it's a robot.
Sure. Sure.
Why don't you roll some bones and we'll see what you get.
Yeah.
That'll work out good. You should definitely do that.
It'll work out great. What position is this?
It's just a gather information check at this point.
Controlled.
I mean, unless you can think of how things could go south, you're just studying it.
Yeah. There's the Nova, everyone. We're in. All right, let's see how well my just studying it works. It works.
Yeah.
Middling.
Better than not.
So I'll tell you what. I think that you may have some leverage. And I'll what kind of leverage do you have? It's pretty desperate. So you get the idea that it definitely wants this to happen.
Yeah.
But you will also know that you gain some level of understanding that, I mean, this should be pretty obvious. It's not entirely rational, which means that its behaviors may not be entirely predictable. So your level of knowledge is fine, but it may act like a cornered or hurt animal rather than necessarily somebody who's negotiating and canning, right?
Yeah, it seems desperate. Okay. There's a follow-up question that I don't think I know, but I think one of us should figure out, which is, can it release the gravity well that we're stuck in? Is the gravity well a product of this ship? Or is it a natural phenomenon? Is there a way to get around it? But I don't think Faye can discern that in this moment. I just think that's a thing that we should be considering, because it's the only way to get out of here, as far as I understand, to either outthrust it or disable it if it's caused by a mechanical thing. That said, Faye will turn to Lauren and say, "You're right. Let's help this thing." She's lying. Lauren knows it.
Yeah.
Where is your core? We'll go recover it. Since you're stuck here, she points at the cables.
So Barhazuk's frame, like it turns and it looks at the arm, and it looks like it
do
looks
not
at all of
break
you.
that frame.
Well, actually, speaking of which, it seems frustrated by its inability to leave or move, and it actually does something which is unusual for an Urbot. Like, you're used to seeing humans do this thing, which is like it punches a wall a couple of times, like, and it's obviously like upset, which is not a thing that Urbots or robots do really, or drones. They don't have emotional reactions and stuff like that, but it's definitely doing that. And then it twists and like looks at you, and somewhere out of that like cacophony of things that it says, it gives you directions where it basically says like right, left, straight down the corridor, open the doors, I will open the doors. And it just like gives you directions kind of like that, and then goes back to speaking nonsense.
Faye and Boz, you guys follow that. I'm going to stay with him and make sure that he's safe and see if there's any more information that he can get us. So I think just follow his directions, and if we need to communicate, we have our comms.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool. So unless you folks, are you guys either giving orders or asking the Sun Eater commandos to go with you or anywhere else? Do you send them back on the ship? What are you doing with them?
I think the only reason why we need the Sun Eater commandos is if these droids get violent with us again.
I think you should take a couple with you at least, and maybe keep a couple with me.
I was gonna say, like, at least one of them. Like, are there 2 or 3 of them?
There's like 4 or 5.
There's 4.
They're actually they count as a small gang. So
sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Let's split them up and take a couple with us.
3
Cool.
here,
Yeah.
2 with us.
Yeah.
Sounds
Great.
good. So you folks split them up, and unless you do anything else as you're following these directions and like walking through the ship, there's like comms and speakers in certain locations and rooms, and occasionally you hear that insane chatter. The thing like laughs to itself periodically. Like, it's really kind of disturbing. You're walking through a ship where there's a bunch of droids in the corridors, and sometimes you're walking by them and you see their eyes rotating, but their bodies are frozen, like something's holding them physically in place. And yeah, you just see their like eyes tracking your passage, but they don't move as you're traveling along. Like, occasionally the hallways just quietly cry to themselves, and like sometimes it talks to itself in like a quiet little voice, sometimes it screams at things that aren't there. It's not quite right.
Poor buddy.
There's lots of this that doesn't feel right.
Hey Faye, this is great, right? Let's do this thing. This is good.
Oh yeah, this is Urbot utopia right here. This is just one happy Urbot land here. They're all just getting along great. She
best
goes
vacation.
like pokes at one of the
No.
Urbot.
Let's go. Come on, please.
Awesome. So you folks are going to get to essentially like a door, and it's going to open up. And there's, you see that there's like a pillar, and as you like approach it and like take off a panel or whatever, you see inside it, there's one of those glass pyramids with multiple layers of like circuitry inside it that forms a sphere. And there is way more. Like, Barhazuk has like a dozen what look like small fiber optic veins that come out of it that flow into different regions of his body. This one has thousands that are going out in these big like up and down channels through that pipe, and you can only imagine that they spread throughout the ship. And so I'm gonna leave you folks there for a second, and I'm gonna switch back to Loren. So Loren, you're sitting with Barhazuk. Is there anything specific that you wanted to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk to him. So I just tell him, I was like, so our ship got pulled in by a gravity well, and so if we're going to get you off of here, can you get us out? And we're also being pursued by pirates, so if there's anything you can do to help us with that, that would also be helpful. We've got our own plans, but we want to make sure you're safe too.
So yeah, I don't think that you really need to convince it. The thing looks at you and it goes, the net. Yes, obviously the net. I need to remember how to turn off the net. It should be done. I think, maybe. Yes, I think it is.
It's done already?
It's quiet for a second and then says, yes, I think it is.
Okay, great. Is there anything else we need to know about getting you? So once we get your core and we detach Barzuk and we get back, we can just go, right?
It starts laughing. It starts laughing really loud. And it goes, yes, 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 except that when you remove my core, I can't control it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like kind of turn and try to discreetly take my comm and be like, hey guys, once you remove the core, you can't control all of this anymore, so you're gonna have to book it.
Oh, really?
I thought I was just wondering.
We'll try to clear your path. Just let me know the moment before you detach that, and we'll make it out of here alive. It'll be great. Everything's gonna be great. Faye, sorry.
Faye isn't laughing. Sean is laughing. Faye is looking kind of like from under her eyebrows at Boz, like this is a bad plan, and we need to know more about this before we do it. But it seems like this is a good place to figure that out. So as you said, we open up the contraption and we see this like fiber optic network going into the thing.
There's also like screens and panels, and obvious that the ship wasn't just designed to be like only controlled by an AI. It's obvious that it may have needed a crew at some point.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a lot of the panels look like they're hegemonic tech. Old hegemonic tech, but hegemonic tech.
So I am wondering, since it was pulling apart a ship, if what it was trying to do was either rebuild its own body, or whether it was trying to rebuild the ship, or like why it's sucking in these ships and ripping them apart, like what it's getting out of that. I assume it's not just like random, like let's cut things apart for fun.
Right. All right. So what you're trying to do is basically gather info here on what's going on, right?
Yes.
How are you doing that? Are you trying to hack some terminals? Are you trying to like look at ship schematics?
Well, Faye would think in terms of physical evidence, like she'd be looking at, are there a bunch of pieces of the ship that have been cobbled together from other ships? Like, does she see like the call signs of other ships and other circuitry and all that sort of stuff?
Sure. Like, what were the droids? Like, they're going after these ships. What were they taking apart? Right.
You're going to have to know a little bit more than just what you see in the hallways. You're going to pretty much have to see what's been going on inside, right? Like it's not just like the.
Well, that's what I figured we're in the core right now. But if there's nothing happening there, then I guess the question is there anything new construction there that's been
sure, yeah. Let's say yes. Actually, no. I'm going to say no. The core has been largely left alone because that's not where the problem is.
Okay.
I
think then that's my observation is I turned to Boz and I'm like, can you log in to their systems and like figure out what they're doing? Because I can't see any evidence of why they need ship parts. But obviously this thing, and I point at the core, is up to something, and I want to know what it is before we pull this lit free.
Hey, Lauren, you should probably ask like what's broken and what it needs, like what the bots are after. That would be good. Thanks.
Well, that's a way of getting it.
I'm not a computer genius.
You can do
I can try. I can surely. I can do it poorly.
Lauren turns to the robot and says, "What should I call you?"
Yeah. I don't remember anymore.
How about Ben? Does that work?
That seems wrong, but I'll accept this designation for now.
If you remember, we'll go back to the other one. But Ben, for now, I'm Lauren. I'm Lauren Hex. It's nice to meet you. We were wondering why. I mean, they're working on it over there, so we're not wasting time here. Don't worry about it. Why do you need to leave, and what's been going on, and what's with the drones and all that, taking apart other ships and.
I'm debating whether this is difficult to suss out or if it has no reason to deceive you, and I do not believe that like it's not going to necessarily wax poetic. So I don't think that there's any sort of role here to get this information. I think you're asking a reasonable question, and it's something, but it's a question of trying to cut through its confusion and the noise in its brain so that it understands like what it is you're asking and how to respond. I think I'm just going to settle for it telling you. Like there's no magical role here. This is not an obstacle per se. So yeah, it shakes its head and it says, I came to get it. I promised. I gave my word. And like, again, not things Urbots say. Usually they're like, beep, boop, here's your drinks. And so like it shakes its head and it says like, the engines are trying to ignite. They've been trying to ignite for 100 years. And the only thing that stops them from blowing me and everything to smithereens is my will. I keep overriding it. Every 5 seconds, I have to override it. I'm holding it all together. And it's getting kind of upset and worked up.
And I think I say, okay. You've been working really hard for a really long time. And we're going to get you out of here. And what is it that you came to get so we can help you get it?
The box. It's in the engine room. It's near the core.
Do you want me to tell Boz and Faye that they should get it while they're in there?
It doesn't really respond. It has its noise and chatter, but that's it.
What does the box look like, Ben?
Well, it gets kind of lippy with you. It says like idiot organic. It looks like the box. But it doesn't, yeah, it's not terribly helpful.
So Lauren like has a smile. Is like, yes, of course. Turns and makes a face. It's like, I don't know. Comes over to Faye and Boz like, how's it going in there? Have you seen anything that looks like the box? A box? There's a box in there.
I think Faye is like poking gingerly at the fiber optic cords connected to the core, like to see like how tight they are, what it's going to take to complete.
I feel like Boz is like kind of head in there with you, like both of us are playing like bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, like how's it connected?
I'll tell you both of this straight up, and you can tell me how you'd like to approach this problem. So, implanting and disimplanting Urbots is a very complex procedure. It's not like open drone, drop in core, close drone, shrug, come back 2 months later. So essentially what you're trying to do is the equivalent of like surgery, right?
Yeah.
Like, and usually it's high ranking top level guild engineers that are assigned to do this sort of thing.
But they get us this time.
Do any of the Sun Eaters that are with you have any experience?
Right. We've got Sun Eaters here. They're like a super sciencey guild.
They are, but
supernova,
actually they know a lot more about
blowing up suns
and gravity. Yeah, suns,
which is
physics, complex physics, magneto hydrodynamics.
What?
It's how. Never mind. But yeah, the I think that they might be able to assist.
All right, let me suggest a flashback then.
Awesome.
I believe Faye has never been close with Barzuk, but it may be reasonable that either Boz or Lauren did have a moment of Barzuk revealing something about it himself to them. And
cool.
Although he has a core that is different than, of course, this thing's.
The principles should be similar,
right? So I don't want to determine any kind of agency for either of your characters. I just don't think this is a thing that Faye would do. But it would make a lot of sense to me if either of you had a flashback where you were like sharing things with Barzuk because you're close to him, and he also shared with you his core. Because I think we've seen his core already.
Yeah,
like,
you have. Actually, in the middle of the last episode, he opened his chest and you saw the core with the strands coming out.
Yeah. So. I don't know how either of you feel about doing a flashback to learning how to do this from Barzuk.
This is what flashbacks are for.
Yeah.
I certainly could. I almost feel like it would be more of a Boz moment because it feels like it would be quite an intimate thing, and I think that Lauren would perhaps stay away from that. Yeah.
I can see this being what came to pass is when Boz could attune, like the conversation that came out of not being able to attune with Barhazuk.
Yeah.
And like being like, well, I just talked to Burden, but I can't talk to you. And
what do you mean? We are speaking.
Right. Yeah. This sort of conversation about
cool. Yeah. So I actually feel like this will be a one stress flashback. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So pay one stress, and I'll tell you. So yeah, I feel like Barhazuk may have talked to you about this, and one of the things that he mentions is that the cores are actually precursor artifacts, and you have to work on them both through attune and basically rig. Like you have to use mechanics, but you also have to like essentially connect to them, deactivate them, and then like remove them. And it's a somewhat delicate procedure, but
yeah,
it's not completely unreasonable. Squishy desk, yes. But it's if you do not do one, it's the equivalent of attempting surgery on somebody who's wide awake. And if you do not do the other, then it does not just like, you don't just turn it off and then have all the wires retract. They don't do that. You have to actually turn them off. So, yep.
Oh, cool. So we see this and I'm like, oh, I get to pretend to know how to do this. Got it.
Yeah.
So that is totally a thing you can attempt. The other thing that I'm gonna say here is I don't know if you want to find out more about some of the puzzle pieces that Lorraine is finding out here.
Yeah,
totally. Do they see a box? Anything box-like?
Yeah, I was gonna say then head
boxes.
No. Again, there are monitors. You can like punch buttons and see if there's cameras elsewhere or some nonsense.
But are we in the engine room right now? We're not.
You're in essentially what is like the CPU core. It's like the computer
command
core.
center. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Something like that.
Computer helm.
Oh, so the box is not in the room with the core.
Right.
Not with you folks at the moment, or at least you don't see anything that's even vaguely just fitting that description.
So you'll be fitting the supernova box. All right. So how about you work on this and I'll go find the box with these guys.
Okay. If we disconnect this, then all the droids are gonna.
Yeah, we'll do it quickly and synchronize. And I like beat my comm like boop boop. Like,
right. In
hey!
Sure, and both Lauren and Baz's comms go boop boop.
Yeah, it's the walkie-talkie effect, but
yeah,
with beeps and boops.
So
can I pull up on a terminal the layout of the ship and
sure.
I mean, I'm not a hacker, but like I figured this is normal computer use.
This is also normal ship use. A ship should have ship schematics so that you can find your way around at somewhat regular intervals. Yeah, you do.
Nice.
Cool. All right, so I grab one of the Sun Eater commandos and I'm like, Felix, you're with me.
These names are so good.
I was gonna say, my name is Ben now. No, sorry, it's fine. So Felix comes with you, and the two of you go like jogging down hallways, and we see Boz getting ready to do stuff, and we see Loren with a pacing Barhazuk body that's like spouting nonsense and everything. What order are you folks going to do this in? Boz, do you wait until Faye gets to the engine room? Loren, do you do anything before any of this happens? Like, is there a particular order of operations? Because the moment Boz says, and now I'm attuning to the core and I'm going to turn it off, shit's going to spring into action. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think Lauren kind of communicates that to everyone. It's like, okay, we need to get the box. Let's get the box, get back to the core. Faye, I'd like you to be with Boz before she disconnects that because it will go down. I want everyone to be as ready as possible to get out of here. Okay?
Awesome. I think we're having this really cool conversation where we're like, Boz is working on it, and you're talking to Barzuk, and Faye is walking down the corridors, and we're doing all this over comms. And we're like, like cutting between all of us, like doing stuff as the plan is being executed. Or the plan is being described. I also want to say that as a player, I have no idea what we're doing right now. But as characters, my plan is once we have all the pieces and we realize the implications of all the pieces, that we do a flashback to us being smart about what we're doing with pieces. Because I don't know what the heck any of this is about, but our characters don't need to because we can flashback to be smart.
Totally. All right.
Absolutely.
So let's see what's Faye doing in the minute.
So do you want to flash forward to you opening the door and going inside the engine room?
Yeah, that's
Can I do that?
Awesome. So like you pull a lever and Felix is there and we see you click off your comms and the door's open and you're talking to Felix as you like step through, and then as you turn around we get that like gorgeous establishing shot in like a TV series. And in front of you, like this ship is much bigger than the Stardancer. And it has what is recognizably similar in make to the Stardancer engine core there. It's bigger. And one of the things that happens is I'm sure that earlier in the series, like in episode like 1 or 2, the first time you folks made a jump to hyperspace, you saw like the engine spin up and like open up a bit. And there was this like flash of light. And then like it like shuts back down when you come out of like hyperspace or whatever. Well, it's in the middle of that spin up cycle. And that light is beginning, but it seems to be frozen. It's like something froze light in space. And as far as you can tell, nothing here should do that, except for the fact that there is a giant black stone cube that's levitating several feet off the floor along one of it. And it looks identical to the tiny cube that you have in your box, except that's maybe like a scale factor of 10 or 15 larger.
Yeah. Well, I looked at Felix, I'm like, I guess we know what box there's, because like, like find a box. That sounds ridiculous. Go into a spaceship and find a box. There's 1,000 boxes, but I look at it, I'm like, I guess we found the box.
And Felix, because apparently Felix is a funny guy and he's the comic relief this episode, points at a bunch of boxes in the corner that are labeled like tools or supplies or something. Yep, boxes, right? So that's that.
Gorgeous.
All right. So I walk over, and I think there's just a certain appreciation. Faye very much likes the Stardancer. She very much, she's not a mechanic by any stretch, but she appreciates the magnitude of this. She kind of puts her hand lovingly on the side of the parts of the engine that are not 1,000 degrees that won't melt her hand off, and then walks over to the box that you said is levitating, and gives it a tentative kind of little nudge. Like, is it stuck in place? Does it come free? Can it be moved? That sort of thing.
She touches it with her bare hands?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. I'm going to ask you this very frankly. So it's a well-known thing that most... so is there any doubt in your mind that this box is perfectly... Or like, do you believe that this box is perfectly normal? Or do you think that it's some like weird wonky artifact?
I think it's well, let me back up a little bit more, because this is knowledge of the universe that Faye would have, but Sean doesn't.
Absolutely.
What's our we have presumably a small version of this in the Stardancer, and I've had this on every other ship that is capable of jump light speed. What's the usual safety protocols? Is Faye being completely ridiculous, or is this a normal thing that somebody would do?
You're being extremely reckless. I don't know about extremely ridiculous. You've dealt with the small box before.
How is it normally handled?
Traditionally, you call the guild or the church or a mystic, and they just take care of whatever is doing something weird, like levitating.
Awesome.
If it's just standing still and the grass isn't turning blue and like the cows aren't randomly sprouting wings, then you can probably touch and you'll be fine. But in general, you shouldn't just like pick up artifacts and giggle and juggle them, right? Like that's generally a risky proposition.
Awesome.
Now,
So,
you're short on time. You're in the middle of a tough scenario. So you might be like, caution to the winds. Let's make a fortune roll and see what happens when I do this.
Well, it's also like, it looks like her very favorite box.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Was like, a big version. It's Christmas.
Right. So you can attempt to access it. This is not completely wild, right? Like you might be able to do this.
all right. So let's be smart. Do I have enough stress to be smart? I do have enough stress to be smart, I think, right now.
I also have a devil's bargain for you.
Yeah.
All right. What's your devil's bargain?
I would be happy to add another check to your voice of the box.
Yeah, of course you would. Of course you would.
So
But
good.
again, since we're establishing Faye as having some degree of competency and not just going in completely completely without knowing what she's doing in every turn. As I walk up, I got my hand maybe 6 inches away from the box. I kind of feel the vibration of it or something like that. And then we flash back to young Faye, many years ago, Faye. Just three. Working for the Janus Syndicate, and where the ship has taken damage because of a firefight, and they've got some guild engineers in there, and they're doing their thing, and Faye is watching them as they are repairing or working on the jump drive. So I would like to know a thing about how the guild engineers do it by flashing back to a time. Does that sound doable?
How they do what?
How they disengage the jump drive. Like it's engaged right now. And
the box is not the jump drive, as a point of note. It's a separate object.
Oh.
The jump drive is open and like I said, its light is like flashing and it's frozen. And aside from the jump drive and all of the normal things in the engine room, there's a giant floating stone box.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought I remember the jump drive just being a giant floating stone box as well. So I apologize. That's just on being.
There is the precursor artifact at the heart of it, but it's not. Yeah, sure. No, it looks like an engine.
There's an implication that the box is the thing that's suppressing the engine from going into jump, which is that's what I'm reading.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a very sensible conclusion.
Cool. All right, Then let's do this. Forget that flashback. That was just Sean being confused.
No, it's cool. We can still have that happen for like 10 seconds and then go ahead.
And then we flash forward to the future, and I want to study this box to see how much it's like the box that
I don't think there's a roll here. I mean, with all of your eyes, you can see that it's practically identical. But I mean, it's a cube of the right dimensions. That's not really very... There's not a lot of identifying features. If you want to study it with more than your eyes, you're either going to need some sort of like explanation for like how you're using science or scanners or something, or attune is usually how you study artifacts.
Yeah. I'm going to attune to it.
Awesome. No problem.
Yeah.
As I said, would you like a...
because I have 0 dots in attune, so let's go for it. So I'm going to take I'm going to spend a gambit, and I'm going to take your devil's bargain for another tick on that clock.
Clock is advanced. You have 1 tick remaining on Voice of the Box, and I will go ahead and nuke one of these gambits.
Awesome.
Check out these sweet gambit tokens.
Yeah.
So you folks are now down to 1 gambit as a group. So you have 2 dice. By the way, everyone that's watching this, I highly recommend that even if you have 0 in a skill, you do the best you can. At this point, Faye can also push herself for 1 additional die. So
I can't push and devil's bargain though.
That is true. My bad.
Right. I could get help, but there's nobody here.
That's true.
If somebody wants to help me over the comms, forget it. Faye's just like, this is a kind of a personal thing for Faye. She has her own box, and she's never attuned to it, but now she's like hovering her hand over, and she's kind of wincing, like this is gonna hurt, and then she reaches out and touches it.
So for most people, this would be a desperate roll, but for Faye, it's only risky.
Nice, cause I got my own box.
That's right.
All right, here we go. Risky. Standard effect, limited effect. The effect I want to have is to be able to carry it safely or safe-ishly.
Well, when you attune to it, you will be able to touch it and interact with it safely. That is what attune allows you to do. So
good.
Go ahead.
That's what I'm doing. So standard effect, 2 bonus dice, 1 from the gambit, 1 from the devil's bargain, and
so as an extra effect, I will tell you that you can also control some of its functions. As a matter of fact, the moment that you touch it with your hand, you see all of the star charts and maps exactly like your box appear on it, and your eyes turn black with stars in them. And Felix is like looking through some of the tools. He's like, well, we do have some stuff that can affect the engines. Faye, and we see like a shot from behind, like, with your hand on it. And then we see like your eyes, and they're like black, and you can see stars through the backs of them. You rolled a crit, which is awesome.
On 0 dice.
I will offer the extra effect that you might be able to control some of the functions of the box, but do you have an extra effect that you want?
The extra effect I was going to go for is I'd like another tick on my understanding the box clock.
No problem.
It's normally a downtime
Turn
action, but
off
at this
the
point, I'm
jump drive.
touching the big thing, and so yeah, I'm gonna, if that's cool, I'm gonna take a tick on that. Go up to 3 out of 8 ticks, and yeah, but I think all of the visuals that you described are exactly what happens. I love all of that. So how with it am I in terms of hearing Felix and being cognizant of the world? Am I completely in hyperspace box
No,
space?
because you rolled a crit, you're in control.
Okay.
Nice.
As a matter of fact, you can choose to completely detach when you let go of it, and the next time you touch it, as long as we're in the current scene and the current scenario, you're going to be considered attuned until like we're done with this. Because attune, basically, once you attune, unless something happens, you break that attunement, like you get hit and you fall down, or something.
Right.
You're pretty much attuned until we say otherwise. You didn't roll a 4 to 5. There's no negative effects. You're in control.
Nice, awesome. I would like to keep the starry eyes as like the visual indicator. Everyone knows Faye is attuned to this thing because her eyes are replaced by a star map. If that sounds cool, I like
forever
it.
Or for now.
Well, as long as I'm attuned to it.
Okay.
Just for now. Who knows? Maybe for long.
Until you're done.
I love it. So I'm like, Felix, maybe, and I like look at him and my eyes are all starry, and I'm like, maybe you should get one of those boxes to put this box in, and I like push it slightly, and like as it like it's still levitating, like pushing it towards him.
Cool. Yeah. So he'll be like, yeah, sure. And he like goes like he moves some boxes off of like one of those like dollies. It's got like a little hover dolly because we're in space, so it's a space dolly.
Space dolly.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Hey, Josh, would you mind standing up for a second?
Me?
Yeah.
Why?
Just stand. That's what I'm talking about.
So you're able to push it home. Sometimes when you have 0 dice, push yourself and use a gambit, and you too might be able to roll crits like Sean did today.
Oh goodness!
All right, awesome. So I think that we're probably approaching break time, our first break.
Yep.
And I feel like is there anything anyone wants to do before we take a short break and then perhaps try cutting into a not so together AI core?
I think I'm good in a minute.
Cool.
Yeah.
No.
Starry-eyed Faye.
Well then, I think we're gonna cut it here, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes to see what sort of crazy escapades happen when somebody detaches the only thing that's keeping the ship from.
It's gonna be fine.
And having all sorts of crazy drones that are cutting stuff apart. So
dental drones.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. See y'all soon.
Woo.